pretty disappointing year when, I own a food plot cedar business, and my food plots look like the worst I've ever seen them, I'm pretty sure, in my entire life. So been a bit of a blow this year in that department, but you learn something new every year, and I think learn some lessons, know what to watch out for the next time around. And yeah, sometimes Mother Nature just wins out. So
all right, welcome back, everybody. Andy, what's shaking, bacon?
Man, it's another podcast evening. How you doing tonight, buddy?
To the Habitat
Doing good.
Podcast.
Doing good. Season
The
is what?
podcast for
8 days
wildlife
away.
habitat
Holy
management,
cow.
hunting
Are you as ready as I am?
land stewardship.
Yeah, probably.
But not at all?
Yes,
Your host,
yes, probably.
Jared
Yes.
Van
Well, I've been
Hees.
shooting my bow, so that's good. Now that all the habitat stuff's done, it's kind of
Welcome
like,
to the Habitat Podcast.
what do? You shoot. I mean, should be shooting before that, but that's all I got. So it's going good. How you doing? Everything good? You ready?
Everything's good. I put another arborvitae in today.
All
Figured
right.
why not? Put one down on that swamp plot. We'll see what happens. Had a nice buck show up on camera tonight, as I showed you, out in the long ways away from here.
Yeah, New Jersey or something, right?
I thought it was Alaska, but something like that.
Yeah. State land in Alaska. Well,
That's right.
hey, I'm fired up. We been talking about this podcast for since Habitat Day. I think Matt and I were drinking beer late one night with Doug, and Andy was snoring, and we had this awesome discussion about bees and habitat. And so first of all, we got Matt Holmes. Matt, how you doing?
Doing great.
Thanks for
Evening,
hopping on, buddy.
Oh, yeah.
Mm.
Oh, my pleasure.
And then you guys have heard Mr. Doug Holmes from Downburst Cedars before. Doug, what's shaking?
how's it going? Doing well?
Good to see you. Are you in the Downburst laboratory right now?
I
bet in that
am,
laboratory.
actually.
Yeah.
And the lighting
I'm
out here
down
is
there.
terrible, so hopefully this works. But
No,
I know a guy that can help you with that. So how you guys doing tonight, man?
Really good, really good. Just got back
Yeah.
from our Dough Fest weekend, which didn't go that well, but
Yeah, let's
it
hear
was
about
great
it.
to get out there and
Do we need to talk about it?
Don't feel bad, guys. My dough camp went as good as yours did. We
Oh, really?
we were successful in rejuvenating the soul. That was about it.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, go right ahead. Tell us what happened, man.
Well, you win some, you lose some, I guess, right? It wouldn't be real that's hunting,
Yeah. Well, I think the problem was Matt guaranteed somebody a deer.
Ooh.
That's true.
was,
I feel
you know,
absolutely terrible. I feel like, there's one of the guys I work with is, hunted many years and has never gotten a deer. And I'm like, dude, come up to the farm. We'll get you hanging a tag on something here. Yeah, that's not how it went at all. So,
And what's
First time ever.
the past history, guys, at Dough Fest at your farm?
I mean,
what's the average?
I'd say the average is probably 5 does.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. The goal
Nice.
is to take 5 every year, which we're yeah. A lot of times happens all in one sit, even where that's all done, But
Oh,
yeah,
man.
not this year. It was a much different story,
It seemed like the deer were kind of dispersed a lot and early this year because of all the acorns. Is what I'm kind of noticing. I don't know about you guys the same.
Exactly the thought that we had. That's what discussions we were talking about. I know there's a lot of acorns dropping right now, and I think there's some white oaks that are like just west of us. I think those are in their rotation for dropping, so that probably has something to do with it.
That's what I'm going with. That's my excuse anyway.
Warm weather as well. We have decent arsenal of cameras out there, and there was just not daytime movement at all. And I think that's a lot to do with weather has a lot to do with that. Warmth still.
Absolutely. That stinking heat.
So, speaking of Dough Camp here, what did the guy you brought up have to say when it didn't go as planned?
Well, I think he thought his 9-year curse rubbed off on us.
It's his fault. I love it.
Yeah, he's like, sorry guys, it's probably all my fault.
Yeah,
I'm cursed.
that's what he was probably right. You know,
That's
So-
awesome. So how's the farm looking besides the lack of does the weekend you were there? How's the farm looking?
It has been
Dry.
dry here. It is like probably the driest I've ever seen it. I don't know, Matt, what do you think? Like,
absolutely. Yeah.
I cannot
definitely.
remember a drier condition on the farm. Like,
I mean, the ponds, we have, multiple ponds that are in there, beaver ponds and that, those are dried up. There's a creek that runs by the barn and, that's completely bone dry. It's, it's definitely much drier than we've seen and than I can remember.
yeah. So the food plots are not looking great. Even the clover is struggling pretty bad right now. So we did get, I think, almost like 3/4 of an inch of rain since just this past weekend, like Sunday and Monday. So I'm hopeful that's going to turn things around. I've actually noticed some deer feeding in some of the food plots that look like bare dirt.
Okay.
So I can't see grass coming up or, rye coming up in the photo on the trail cam, but they're in there eating something. So it's got to be popping, I think. So hopefully it turns around. We're running out of time. But
They're just getting the first nips of whatever's coming up.
Yeah.
Is that what it sounds like?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
So yeah, pretty disappointing. Pretty disappointing year when, I own a food plot cedar business and my food plots look like the worst I've ever seen them. I'm pretty sure in my entire life. So it's been a bit of a blow this year in that department, but you learn something new every year. And I think learn some lessons, know what to watch out for the next time around. And yeah, I mean, sometimes Mother Nature just wins out. So
Doug, I was just gonna say I can feel that sentiment by owning a food plot seed company and then having another drought, let alone, we've been in 4 seasons, we've had 4 droughts. But
I know.
thank God there's customers that get rain and make me feel better. So
Yeah. Pretty much all of my customers who send me photos, I am ultra jealous of their food plots because they all look way nicer than mine.
yeah. Yeah. Well, that's gonna happen. Hey, that switchgrass update, nobody knows about this yet. That's all 3 foot tall that I planted on Father's Day with a downburst.
Nice, dude.
Food
That's
plot's
good
not
growth
looking
for the
good.
first year. 3 feet.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, that's crazy.
switchgrass, and it looks
Nice.
awesome. So yeah, very happy with that. But Doug, why don't we start out? I want to get to the bees, Matt. I have a lot of questions about the bees, but first, I have some questions about the downburst and the D8 or DS 860. Sorry, you've been making some upgrades. Things have been moving. You've been selling downburst cedars across the country. How's business been? How are things going?
It's been going really well. Like I'm kind of blown away by just how enthusiastic people get about the cedar. And yeah, I mean, I said across the country, I've shipped units to Texas, to Georgia, to Pennsylvania, Ohio, a lot in Wisconsin. Wisconsiners are really putting in the food plots. So I think the highest state is Wisconsin. So, but Iowa, Indiana, Illinois, I mean, pretty much the whole Midwest. So I think
That's awesome, man.
people are really enjoying, and it's just been, I mean, nothing but, positive feedback. When someone reaches out to me, the first thing they often say is, I love my cedar, this is great. I got a question about this. How can I do this? So yeah, it's been really cool. And a ton of fun. So looking forward to keeping it going and making it better. And yeah.
Well, I do have to say that your user manual, and I'm not a user manual guy. If you haven't figured that out by now, everybody who's listening, you probably have.
Did you actually read it?
When I had questions, I called you instead, and you called me back an hour later. But I went through the manual and it was all boom, figured it out. That was changing the seed meters from the vitalized to the switchgrass, which are 2 different meters. So why don't you go into maybe the 2 different meters and some of the new adjustments and new things going on?
Yeah. So the latest model, the DS860, basically doubled the seed rate. So now the original version that I launched with was 0 to 30 pounds per acre. and really just intended for the tiny seed stuff that's really hard to do with a handheld broadcast spreader or any kind of broadcast spreader. And then, so the 860, I basically doubled that. So now you can go 0 to 60 pounds an acre. And the way I did that was basically created a larger seed meter that can feed, twice the volume of seed into it. There was, quite a bit more to it than that. To spread that doubled seed rate, I needed a lot more air velocity. Needed to basically redesign the drop tube part of the machine, which is really, the most difficult part to kind of figure out. I think I spent about 2 years developing the original drop tube and getting that to work as well as it does now. So yeah, that was a big thing. And then increasing that airspeed had to basically put more adjustment on that, so that you can dial it back and still plant, 2 pounds an acre of radishes if you want to, or turnips or any, tiny seed that doesn't need as much air to spread. So yeah, I mean, that's really the big kind of new thing with the current machine is just doubling that seed rate. Kind of makes the machine a lot more versatile. The original design, really, you're kind of limited to the small seed, the 30 pounds an acre. Gets you all your like clovers and brassicas and stuff like that, but kind of leaves out like soybeans and doing, the more diverse mixes like vitalized mixes. So, a certain customer reached out and asked, man, it'd be really cool if this thing could spread vitalized. So I won't drop names, but so yeah, I made it happen, and it does a pretty nice job.
Yeah, I don't know who would pull that move.
I'm gonna pat your back a little bit there. It does more than a little pretty nice job. It does an amazing job. I mean, to actually be able to know what you're putting down. I don't have golf ball size turnips anymore. I don't have any because we have a drought, but I don't have golf ball size ones anymore because I'm putting the right rate now.
Yeah,
Yep.
No, exactly. And that's, I mean, the biggest frustration for me has been, trying to do that tiny seed stuff. And yeah, I mean, a grain drill is going to give you the accuracy, but do you really want to use a grain drill to plant like white clover into rows? Probably not, right? You want to spread that evenly over your field. So that's what, a drop seeder, which is what a downburst seeder does for you.
And how's the feedback been across the board from all these other states and areas? I think like native seeds are really tiny, light, fluffy stuff. I think like that's the tool of choice. So like who's buying these and and how's the feedback been?
I've actually sold quite a few to guys that are looking to put in like CRP mixes and native pollinator blends, native wildlife blends. The machine can definitely do it. It kind of suffers from the same problems as most grain drills, is where that seed is so fluffy that it wants to bridge in the hopper. So that, the way around that is to mix in something else with the seed. I found like cracked corn is the best thing, just because it's not, you could do a different seed. I mean, some folks will put wheat or some other kind of cereal grain in there. And that just helps the seed flow and not bridge. But cracked corn kind of does the same thing, but it's not going to compete with what you're planting, right? It's just, obviously the corn seed has been crushed, so it's not going to grow and compete with what you're planting. So that is probably the next thing that I think I'm going to be looking at as far as downburst seeders, future improvements is I really want to make this thing plant natives, like without having to mix anything with it. Just dump straight natives in the hopper and go. So it does a really good job spreading those, that light fluffy seed. You basically got to knock the airspeed down to nearly zero because it doesn't take much air to spread that seed, but it does a really nice job, like nice and even spread. So, like I said, the guys that have bought it to do that, I'm honest with people. I tell them exactly what I just said. Like, yeah, it'll do it, but it's not really ideal. Not what I designed it to do. But, those guys are also buying it to put in their food plots. So they're willing to deal with like having to mix cracked corn with their seed because they know they're going to use the machine, probably a lot more to put in their food plots. So that's been good. But I would say of the inquiries I get, emails, phone calls, I mean, easily 75% of them are folks looking to plant native seed. So I think that's, like I said, that's, that to me, that's the next big challenge is how do I solve that problem? And I've got some ideas. I'm working on it. Hopefully sometime in the near future. I don't want to put any dates out there, but yeah, I mean, that's, I think, going to be the next thing is really making this like a nice native seed spread machine. So
Is there any other piece of machinery that people use to spread native seeds besides drop spreading? I mean, Mother Nature drop spread
yeah,
everything.
well,
So like,
yeah,
what
exactly.
else are people using or like, because you said some NRCS people have been reaching out and stuff, right? Like this is interesting.
Yeah, I've sold 2 or 3 machines to government agencies.
That's cool.
Um, yeah, I mean, honestly, I think like the biggest recommendation or what the folks that I've talked to, when they're talking to the NRCS about their seed mix, they're literally telling them to just like reach in the bag and throw it out by hand because they're honestly like, there's really not any better way to do it. Like I said, even if you go rent the what do you call it, conservation district drill or whatever, those are going to struggle the same way. You have to do the same, mixing something with that seed to get it to flow through the machine. So, yeah, it's interesting. There's a few different ways to do it. I mean, it's close right now. I mean, the machine will almost do it. It just occasionally bridges and hangs up. So I don't think it would take much to keep it like reliably flowing through there. So I've been talking to a few different folks on it, getting some ideas. So I think I know how to do it. It's just a matter of finding the time to prototype it and test it. So yeah, this year's been a bit busy with just building machines and keeping up with that. So
Well, I mean, if I don't know, Matt, what do you think? If we have to add some cracked corn out there in the food plots, I mean,
No problem. I mean, I might.
Yeah, I wonder if that's
anyway,
legal
right?
in Michigan. You're not allowed to plant.
I guess it
after
depends
October
when you
1st.
plant. Right, exactly.
It's just your media that's helping the seed disperse, right?
Right.
Yes. Yep.
No, I just mean it's not food or baiting or anything.
No. No, I mean, yeah, that's interesting, Doug. That could be a niche for you for sure. Get with the different drop tube and the reduced air. I mean, that could be the thing for natives.
Yeah, I mean it is a pretty interesting thing, and honestly, I mean we'll probably get to that, but I would love to put in a whole bunch of native wildflowers on our farm. Support the pollinators. I would say I've seen a plethora of monarch butterflies this year. I'm not sure if it's anything we're doing or if it's just a good year for monarchs, but it's cool. Like I like seeing that stuff out there, and definitely I like Matt's honey, so we need to keep those bees well fed too. So.
Well, and not to let the cat out of the bag, but we might have some native offerings coming up soon at Vitalize. So we might get to help you out there by making that goal happen.
Cool.
You mentioned keeping up with manufacturing. You're a one-man operation. That's how all these beautiful companies start. You're in your workshop. I've been there. I've seen it. Any plans on scaling or any ideas or what's the thought there?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I need to just, have some of the sub-assemblies done for me. So basically contract manufacturing. So this off season, whenever that actually starts, that is the plan, is to really find some local small shops that are willing to do, because, this is small volume stuff, right? We're not selling these to, this isn't the next mousetrap or anything like that. It's a pretty niche market. So we're talking small volumes. And it's gonna be hard to find someone willing to manufacture small volumes. So that's kind of where I'm at. I've got a few leads on some local shops in Cadillac, Michigan. So yeah, hopefully this time next year we'll be doubling, tripling what I'm able to. I'm basically limited by what I can build at this point in time, right? Besides the Habitat podcast, I've essentially stopped advertising just because I can't keep up. So it's a good problem to have, but it's also a little bit frustrating. Like, okay, how do I get to that next step? And so, yeah, if I can just outsource some of the real time consuming things to a good local shop that's nearby that I can keep a close eye on, and that's what I'm looking to do. So
nice. I mean, it's a good problem to have, right? And a lot of businesses seem to hit that point and can't figure out how to scale. So good on you, man. Keep it up. I'm sure you'll find the right shop and be able to do this. I see also something about a larger hopper. That's news to my ears.
yeah, and that kind of feeds almost into the native thing.
Okay.
That native seed is so fluffy and light. I mean, we were putting it down at 13 pounds an acre, let's say. The hopper only holds probably like 8 or 10 pounds of seed, or not even that much sometimes. So, yeah, bigger hopper is going to help just, make it a little more practical to put down that lightweight seed. And then, yeah, it also would help with the flow, just having a larger hopper with a larger outlet, just a bigger opening for that seed to drop through. So, yeah, that one might be, we'll see. Like I said, they kind of go hand in hand. So, but I would say it's probably like the biggest question I get from folks, is, worried about the size of the hopper. And it really depends what you're planting, right? If you're doing white clover at 8 pounds an acre and it holds 20 pounds of white clover, then, you can do almost 3 acres at a time without having to stop and fill it up. But if you're doing, vitalized seed mix at 60 pounds an acre and it only holds 20, now you got to fill it 3 times in an acre, which isn't actually probably as bad as it sounds, but I think it would make sense if it held a little bit more. Like I said, that, originally it was 0 to 30 for tiny seed, that it would hold 2-3 acres worth at a time. So when I doubled the seed rate, I did not double the size of the hopper at that time. So I feel like that's kind of probably the weak point right now. That should be relatively easy to fix, but yeah.
Do you think that hopper will be able to retro to the older models?
I was afraid you were going to ask that. How'd you? No, you're going to have to buy a new one.
That's fine. Just put it on Habitat's credit card. We're good.
Oh boy, that means I got to buy a new one too. Shoot.
It certainly could. You're not going to get the benefit of the larger opening, so you might not be able to do the natives as well with it. That part of the upgrade, but yeah, it would be relatively easy to retrofit onto the existing machine. It's one downside of that chassis is all welded aluminum, so it's one downside of welding the aluminum together is you're not gonna like swap out a part and change a whole size very easily. But yeah, we'll figure it out. How you go?
Good thing I know.
I'll come and pick up your cedar and modify it for you and give it back to you.
You the man. All right, sounds like a plan. Sounds like a plan.
So Doug, hold on real quick, Andy. Doug, anything else you want to hit on the cedar? Downburstcedars.com. We have a code. But anything else you want to hit? Mention the code. Anything else you want to hit before we get to the birds and the bees, if you will?
Yeah, I mean, one more thing, I guess, part of that, I've had quite a few customers that want to know if the machine's going to do what they want it to do before they buy it. And I certainly appreciate that. That's probably a result of me warning them. I'm not much of a salesman. I feel like every time I talk to a customer, I'm like trying to talk them out of buying one. But I've had quite a few guys send me their seed mix, and a lot of this would be the native stuff, and they'll just send me a couple of pounds of seed, and so I basically do a custom calibration table for them. Like I'll calculate the whole seed rate, make sure it spreads properly, give them the air baffle settings and their own custom seed rate table. And I enjoy doing that. So yeah, I guess just that's definitely something that, you can do if you're worried that, whatever you want to plant's not on the table that's on the website, just reach out, just shoot me an email through the website. And if I don't already know how it works, I'm more than happy to test it for you. So.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. That's a lot of work for you. Kudos to that. Are you charging for something like that, or are you just taking care of these people?
No, I just do it. So it's
Okay.
it's really not that much work, but, and like I said, it just gives me more hands-on experience with different seeds that I haven't tried before. So
what's the craziest seed
learning opportunity for me?
What's the craziest seed someone has wanted to put through a downburst?
Trying to think. I've got one gentleman that's going to plant aspen with it.
Really?
Yes. He's going to try and put in a stand of trees with a downburst seeder. So I need to follow up with him. He was supposed to do that planting. I think, I don't remember now if it was this spring or this fall. So I need to shoot an email and see how that went. But I've never even heard of planting trees from seed, especially aspens. But
I mean, they grow like crazy. So I guess
I mean, he did the calibrate, like he did I walked him through how to calibrate it, and he did it himself, and he said, yeah, it's accurate. Looks like it's going to work well. So I'm trying to remember now. Yeah. What time of year was the best for planting that like that? I think he was planning to keep the deer fenced off of it for the first few years to let it get up. But I think this gentleman, he manages like thousands of acres, some private hunting ranch. I'm trying to think it was Wisconsin or Minnesota maybe, but
okay. That's something, that was something we all learned something tonight. You can plant aspen trees through a downburst.
I honestly kind of forgot about it until you asked me that. And I'm like, man, yeah. No, I'm definitely I'm gonna email him tomorrow and see where he's at with that. Cause that would be cool if he could plant a forest with this thing too.
Yeah, it would definitely help me with turning this flat farmland into some good timberland. So
yeah,
I'm definitely
I think your farm and our farm is very similar.
We should be on the beach because we have beautiful beach sand.
I'm like maybe one step up above your beach sand.
I'm pretty proud of it.
Just add clay to yours, and that's what mine is.
Okay. Well, so when we were at Habitat Day, you guys I went to bed early because that's what old men do. You guys had a conversation about bees, and man, I missed it. So I really want to hear about these bees.
Yeah, we were up there solving all the world's problems late at night, and I didn't realize that you guys had bees at your farm, and that Matt has been, I mean, both of you for sure, but I think is Matt the champion of the bees?
Yeah, it's all Matt.
Okay.
Yeah.
To this day, Doug doesn't go near him.
That's not true. I'll brush around the apiary now.
I should say he gets a little bit closer, but he won't actually go into the apiary itself. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, last time I was, one of the times I was at my friend Corey's farm. He's been on here. You guys have met Corey at Habitat Day. He opened his bee box to show me, and they all stung me. So I ran away screaming like a little girl, which wasn't supposed to happen, I don't think, but it did. So, Doug, have you been stung?
No, honestly, I've never been stung. Okay. And I've been like, I don't know, 10, 15 feet away with no protection while he's in there doing his thing with the bees. And I don't know, I think some bees are more docile than others. Depends on the breed. Maybe.
Well, let's do this then. Matt, why don't you tell us, first of all, maybe when you got bees on the farm the first time, and then go back further. Why did you get into bees? When? How? Tell us the backstory. Right. Paint us a picture of what that looks like.
Yeah, I was trying to remember if it was 7 or 8 years ago, but it was really just a situation where I was just trying to think of what is something that we can add to the farm to help with just the habitat in general. Not just necessarily deer, turkey, or whatever, but just the whole thing. What's something that can, because I live 3 hours away, so from the farm, so it's like getting there and working on stuff is not, I don't have all the time in the world, right? Because I also have kids and a job. So, and I had remembered that years before, there was my dad had a beekeeper that had brought some hives in, and he only had a couple, and it didn't last very long. I wasn't really sure what happened there. I think a bear got into him.
Bears got
and
it.
then he just abandoned them.
Yeah.
So I was just thinking, like, man, just like honeybees, like, I don't know, why couldn't I just do that? I mean, I can do that. Like, it wasn't, I don't know, I just figured if I could do it if anybody else is doing it, whatever. So just started looking into it and then finding where you can buy bees. And I literally didn't know anything about that. So I just started going online and kind of doing a deep dive there. And really the full intent was just for pollination. We have the apple orchard, and we've got, I don't know, I mean, now we have probably we got at least a few dozen fruit trees. So like the honey portion of it was not even, I was actually looking at, do you even have to harvest the honey, like to have a beehive there? Cause I wasn't interested in messing with that. I was just going to set them there and leave it. And then, just once you kind of get into it and start learning about them, it was like, yeah, well, why not? They're producing it all, and it's in there, and it's all extra, there's so much extra. Why not take it? So now, like, full-fledged, I deal with it. I've got hives, obviously at the farm. We've got hives down where I live, Southeast Michigan, that I manage some hives down here for someone else as well. And, kind of just on the side. And I've, other people inquire, and just, it's kind of a nice community as far as, guys helping each other out with that stuff. Cause there's not too many people doing it. Right.
Yeah. No, I mean, I've never done it. So that's pretty interesting. I'm trying to think of how you got into, like what was the first step, I guess?
Yeah. Looking online and then reading books.
Okay. That sounds good. And like, did you just go buy some bees?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm getting some big feedback over there. I don't know if it's me or what's going on, but
yeah, no, me too. And I can't pause this because Andy just disappeared. Maybe turn some volume down, or Doug, why don't you try muting once?
I was gonna say I can mute mine.
Let's just try it. I'm not sure. So Matt, you just bought some bees, is that correct?
Yeah. So sorry, I kind of was losing track because the feedback was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just looked online, was just kind of doing some research, and then, I had bought a couple books, was just reading on that. And then I just started looking at where can I buy bees, and to be honest, I'm trying to even remember where I bought the first ones. I think it was just like a local, down around Jackson, in Michigan here, around Jackson's a big area for beekeepers. There's I honestly don't even remember the guy's name over there, but there's a few places, two or three places that sell them, and you can get equipment and things like that. So that's
okay.
I believe where I started. Got it from there, and then that gentleman, actually, I do remember he shared a lot of information with me picking up, and I bought what you'd say nuke hives. You can get a package of bees or a nucleus hive, which is if you're starting out, a nuke hive is the way to go, because that's
okay.
You've got a laying queen and some bees that have already accepted her, so you can just kind of install her into, a new, set of boxes, and they'll just take off. The packages of bees, that's big. They ship them up from like down south, right? A lot of beekeepers send their bees down south to overwinter, and then, they send them up here and sell them. They winter better in the warmer weather. So, but.
Okay, so so how you got started, you found a hive of nuke bees, you bought some boxes, and you showed up at the farm.
Yep. Yeah, just kind of picked a place that was central. and yeah, just kind of built a stand just to keep them up off the ground, especially because we get a decent amount of snow, right?
Okay.
And set them on that. I actually got 2 hives that way because I didn't really, obviously don't know anything about it. So it's like, if I got 1 hive, how do I know how good it's doing? I mean, I got nothing to compare it to. So I purchased 2 nucleus hives to start with, and then right, just kind of mount them, and then just went from there.
Okay, so sorry for the stupid questions. How much does a nuke hive cost, and how do you put it in the box to get going?
Yeah, so I think this year nucleus hives we're selling from anywhere from like 150 to maybe 220, something like that, depending on where you get it. And then as far as installing it, with a nucleus hive, they've got, it's basically a miniature hive. You've got a box that's got about 5 frames in it. And so you can just, a normal Langstroth hive, which is the common one you would see with the stacked boxes, that's what everybody sees. Those are usually 10 frame hives. So you just install the 5 frames into that bottom box. Most of the bees are on the comb. They kind of stand there. You get some flying around, whatever. And then as long as the queen goes in there good, she's on that, on one of those frames, then they're all going to just follow anyhow. So you install them in there, and then they just kind of grow. And as they're growing, you add in boxes to it. You don't start them off in a huge, stacked up with a bunch. You start them off in their first box, let them build out some honeycomb, and then you can add another box on top and let them build that out, going from there. So if you so it's a little it's not too bad installing that. When you buy the packaged bees, you're literally just getting 3 pounds of honeybees and a queen that's in a cage, and that's a bit more to install. It's a bit cheaper. Those are like 100 to like 130 maybe. So it's it's a lot less money, but but when you say install, like you're installing the bees, like you kind of, the queen will be in a cage, and you have to kind of mount her inside. She's got, they call it candy, this little stopper that keeps her in that cage for a few days. So the bees kind of get used to her pheromones, her smell. So they accept her as their queen. And then you literally just take that box of bees and you just dump them in there. It's, and they're hanging on to the box. You got to give it some shakes. You really just, gets pretty wild installing packages of bees, but so
okay. So what are the 2 choices? One was 130, one was like 220. What are those 2 called?
A package. So you can just get a package of bees, which is 3 pounds, and a queen, and then or you have a nuke hive, they call it, or nucleus hive, and then that's, it's about the same number of bees in that, but it's already a queen that they have accepted, and she's laying eggs. Like it's an operating hive, but it's just a miniature version, just 5 frames in a box.
Okay. So, I mean, that sounds like the better way to go.
Yes.
Okay.
It's yeah, because I mean, you're with a nucleus hive, I mean, I've had 100% success rate with nucleus hives, as far as them, being successful that year, not having an issue with the queen, and that sort of thing. When you have you get a package of bees, you have to worry about them actually accepting that queen as theirs, and that she is actually a good laying queen, that she was like mated properly, to lay properly, right? So you got to kind of make sure with that. It's, you're usually, I would say probably 70-80% success rate with that. So still pretty good, but there's a chance that I have had, I can think of one package that, for whatever reason, it didn't work out. The queen was not accepted. So you kind of go through another process trying to requeen, whatever, with all that. But
well,
that's a whole nother.
If somebody buys the package, first of all, does it just come in like a like literally like FedEx in a box?
Yeah, you can. You absolutely. They'll send them in the mail. You can do that. Yeah, usually you order them ahead of time, and then you'll pick them up from like a drop point. I got some bees from a guy in Maryland before, and so there was a guy that went out with a trailer, picked up a bunch of nukes, and then drove them back to Michigan here, and we met in like Walgreens or something like that in the parking lot. So or yeah, they will send them in the mail, but Yeah, I mostly, when I do buy bees, I really try to buy local, like because like I said, honeybees, only certain breeds really winter, are successful, overwintering with, Michigan winters and that. They're really built more for warmer climates, you know, like the Italians, the popular ones, but
Okay.
yeah.
You mentioned trying to I forgot how you said it, rehive or re-get that, queen or those bees to accept that queen. Is the queen that obvious when you get the package? And then how do you redo it if they don't accept it, or you just wash your 130 or $150?
Yeah. Sometimes, yeah, but so the queen, yeah, it's real difficult. You really got to get an eye for it, and just the more you do it, you can pick her out a little easier. But there's a lot of bees, and the queen is, yeah, definitely different. When you see her, you know it, right? But yeah, it can be difficult to find her for sure. Um, you know, so that being said, like usually when I go into hives, I just look for eggs. So if there's eggs, I know there's a queen, and she's good. I don't worry about finding her necessarily, when I'm going in them. But yeah, as far as requeening a hive, if you have a queen that was, that for whatever reason it didn't work out, um, as long as you have eggs in there, then the bees will. I mean, they know right away when the queen's gone, and or if they themselves took her out if they didn't accept her, and as long as there's eggs in the comb, they'll make a new queen. So they'll build some comb out, and then they'll feed it, different type of food, royal jelly, and that basically they'll a new queen will hatch. There'll probably be multiple of them. And the first one that hatches out will go around and open up the other cells and kill the other, you know, queen, before it hatches. And then
Wow.
and then there's a process with that. Then she's got to go out for mating flight and, hopefully get mated properly and hopefully doesn't get eaten by a bird or caught in a storm or something and makes it back to the hive and then starts laying eggs, but that's why I suggest at least 2 hives if you are starting out, because if you do have one that has a queen that fails, by the time you figure out the queen's not in there, there's no eggs. The eggs turn into larvae after 3 days that's been laid. So, it's got to be relatively quick. So if you got that situation, you can just pull a frame of eggs out of the other hive and stick it in that one. And the bees that will get them going, get that process going at least. So.
Wow. And you've been doing this for how long now?
Yeah, I'll say 7 years, a good 7 years at least. Yeah.
Yeah, that's man, you just dropped a lot of information there in like 4 minutes. That's amazing. You were telling me about I'm not trying to get too off track, but you're telling me about how one of your hives local to home escaped, or forgive my
Swarmed,
lack of terminology, swarmed. There you go. And how did you end up chasing that down and getting that back? This is a great story.
So it's pretty wild. So I actually caught 3 swarms this summer.
So you can catch your own too.
One of them. What's that?
You can catch your own too, like a new one if you see one.
Absolutely. Yeah, actually, when I started,
wow.
I'm remembering things. When I first started, I actually built swarm traps. You can build, swarm traps to try and catch some, right? And I usually keep in the apiary. I usually keep an open hive around just in case one does swarm, or if a swarm comes through. They're looking for a new hive. That's what the swarm is. If they've left where they're at because for whatever reason it wasn't good enough for them anymore, and so they're looking for a new home, and that's the whole point. When you see a swarm, that's what they're doing. So, nonetheless, yeah. But I happen to be, by the hive and saw like, holy cow, it's like a whole cloud of bees. I'm watching this, and I realized like they're swarming, and I could just see them kind of all balled up above, in the sky above the hive, and then they kind of just floated off like a cloud. It was crazy. And then they kind of went off towards some apartments, and I ended up going and driving around and found them because I knew they wouldn't go too far, right? Because the point is they're going to land somewhere where they feel is safe, keep the queen protected, and they've got their drone bees that are out looking for a new place to call home. So they're going to be there until they find that. So I had actually drove around, got into the apartment complex, was going around, and I found them up on a tree branch, and it just so happened I could get it was kind of in the back of a parking area. There was nobody, really relatively around. And then I was able to get on the back of the truck and I could reach it. So I had gone home. I had nothing to put them in. I had to put them in something, so I actually grabbed an empty trash can, just a Rubbermaid, trash can, and then some loppers, and went back over and just cut the whole branch off. And they, kind of, of course, the branch like hit the side of the, it never goes how you want it exactly, but nonetheless, the queen went into the trash can. So the rest follow, they eventually took, 15 or 20 minutes, but they all ended up going in there, put the lid on, and took them back and put them in a new box. And I still have that hive today, It was actually, they split, because then when they swarm like that, half the bees go, the queen and half of the bees leave, and they leave half of the bees there, with the resources to be able to requeen themselves and continue on, as a hive. So, and actually that's still, it's a successful hive now. So they kind of split themselves for me, and I was lucky enough to be there to see it, to catch the swarm and bring it back. But
yeah, you can actually like double your bees I don't know if you want to do that intentionally, right? Like, because they left, like you said, for a reason. Maybe you didn't have enough boxes on there, like a big enough home for them. I don't know. I remember you talking about
whoever was managing those hives didn't keep up with their growth, is what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that is just wild, man.
Yeah, but that is something that we do. Like, instead of buying bees, like, if you're going to add your apiary, or if you have winter kill or whatever, if you do have a surviving hive, you can split that hive. It's a good way to kind of to keep growing. It's not always successful, and it depends where you're at. Because I will say, the hives that are down here in Southeast Michigan, there's more hives around. Most of the hives out there are not feral hives; they're beekeepers' hives. There's not a ton of actual feral honeybees, out there. So, up at the farm, there's way less, up there, I've been less successful with splits and requeening hives. It's like very low success rate, to be honest, because, a queen, to be properly mated, needs to mate with, like 12 to 15 different bloodlines of bees. And it's like, if you don't have, you don't have that many hives around. So it's, it's tough for a queen to get properly bred and keep going, and to keep it. Yeah. So anyway.
Okay. So that brings up a question then. So maybe rehiving or swarming and splitting isn't as successful in what type of climate, and maybe you should go with a nuclear or a nucleus pod. How would you, like, if I'm going way up north? You guys have been to my place. Like, is that harder up there because, like you said, there's not as many around?
Correct. Yeah. Okay. I mean, it really just depends on what, how many hives might your neighbors or people around you might have. I, like, in our area, like, I don't really know of anybody relatively close, so it's usually about like a 6-mile radius or so, I think, is what they say. Yeah. It's kind of what they'll travel or whatever. But, I should actually put a disclaimer in here. Like, I am by no means like an expert with honeybees, right? What I know is just from my own experiences with stuff I've dealt with, and a few things that what I remember that I read starting out, other than that, it's just kind of learned things. So I probably, get things wrong a bit, but, yeah, I can just speak of my own experiences with that. So I'll just put that out there. But
hey, I'm in the same boat. Well, right. Yeah, how we got going on this, that one night at the Habitat Day, I was like, I can't do this, Matt. I don't, time. I'm gonna buy them. They're gonna die. How much effort do I have to put in? And you kind of, what's your answer to that question?
Yeah, like, my answer to that question is literally, like, the bees do not need you to survive, other than making sure they have enough room so they don't leave. Because, but other than that, like, I have actually found that, like, the less invasive, the less involved I am, probably the better they do. The more, when the first year or two that I had them, I'm in there every, week or 2 weeks or whatever. And it's like, that's not, I accidentally killed one of my own queens, murdered her, like screwing around, trying to do like a, checking for varroa mites and getting really, just getting too much into it, to be honest. Like for what we have, I'm not like trying to sell honey and make, I'm not making a living off this or anything. We usually, it's literally just for habitat purposes, so, and the honey is a byproduct that we do enjoy, we harvest and enjoy, but a lot of my friends and coworkers get it, but yeah, so I mean, as far as that goes, I would say you could as little as maybe once a month, go in there and just kind of make sure that you actually have a laying queen. Go in there, make sure you got eggs, things are looking decent, make sure your boxes are on there good. There might be a period where they're growing real fast where you might have to stack, get in there maybe every 2 weeks or something. But the worst thing that's going to happen is they swarm on you and you still have half your bees and you can deal with them. So it's not like it's the end of the world, So that's what I liked about it, especially living so far away.
Are you thinking about saddle hunting, but haven't taken the plunge yet? Well, I can assure you, latitudeoutdoors.com is right where I would start if I were you. I got my brand new Method 3 2-panel saddle this year, the most comfy saddle on the market, ready to go this fall. Also, guys, I've been rocking the Method 2 for years. Method 3 came out. It couldn't get any better? Well, it did. This thing is insane. Check it out, latitudeoutdoors.com. But don't forget the Profile Saddle platform and their brand new Ranger 33 packs. I run the Ranger 22 right now, and I'm definitely looking at the Ranger 33 to add to my arsenal for this fall. Check them out, guys. Great people, a great company, Michigan-based, and they're already whacking bucks this season. LatitudeOutdoors.com. Do you have some awesome shed antlers laying around that you don't know what to do with? Maybe sitting on your desk or bookshelf? Put them on the wall with the Antler Anchor Company. My good buddy Ryan started this company. They make stainless steel shed antler mounts, European mounts, something you can be proud of putting on the wall. Think of a boat anchor with antlers coming out of the top of it, Antler Anchor. I'm a boater. I love this idea. It's one of the coolest logos I've ever seen. And your sheds and European mounts look great on the wall with them. Check them out at antleranchorco.com. Tell them the Habitat Podcast sent you. Great piece of machined stainless, ready to put on your wall to hang those trophies. Oh, my Lanta. I was going to say, would you say that this risk of doing this is worth doing based on what you guys have seen so far at the farm?
Yeah, absolutely. For nothing else, like I said, we originally my thought was just with our fruit trees, and I'll tell you this: when the apple blossoms are out, they are loaded with bees. I mean, same thing. You flowers right now is goldenrod's blooming, so I mean it's just crawling with bees. Our apple trees are loaded with apples. Our orchards.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think since you started doing the hives, I feel like we've had just most years like bumper crop of apples.
Yeah.
Every year, every few years you get, probably a late frost that takes out some blossoms and you don't get as many. But whenever we don't have a late frost and we get apples, it seems like they're just loaded. So I think it helps.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'd agree with that 100%. Back when we used to have when we were farming full time, we had bees. We had a apiary put bees here every year, and the fruit trees, the 2 apple trees out back, did so much better when we had bees here compared to what they do now. So I'll agree with you on that 100%.
Yeah. So,
Andy, are we the only ones that don't have bees on our farms? If Corey has them, Drew has them. Does Matt have them?
No, I don't think Matt's got them.
All right, so 3 of us are the losers in the group here. Okay.
But I have some. I have some like a mile down the road.
Oh,
if even that, yeah.
You're relying on other people's bees.
Yeah, actually, we had it was like the Hatfields and the McCoys when we had bees, because it was 2 different beekeepers, and they weren't real happy they were so close to each other. If that makes sense. Yeah.
How'd you know that?
The beekeeper I had to pull his bees out of here because the other guy had asked him to do that since he was so close.
Really?
Yeah.
Matt, what if I came to your house and said you got to move your bees?
No, man, the more the merrier.
Bees.
I don't know. I've heard of things like that, but I know like what I've read is that like I don't think you can have too many bees for an area. Like I've heard people make those comments before, but I don't think you can overdo it, especially with all the wildflowers and just everything that's out there. There's a lot of trees and there's a lot of things that they collect their nectar in that from.
Okay. Very nice. Very nice. I think, do you know if you've seen any improvement in diversity of native plants on your place that you haven't planted after having bees? Have you seen any other improvements besides your fruit trees being fully loaded, which is good enough for me, for sure.
Yeah.
But anything
honestly,
else you've noticed?
It's hard to say for sure, but I will say, like, I do notice. I mean, even Doug made the comment about all the monarch butterflies that we see all the time, and I believe that it probably is to do with maybe some more diversity with wildflowers and that sort of thing. That I cannot speak on that for sure, but I'll tell you, we have a ton. We have a ton of diversity as far as that goes, like wildflowers, goldenrod especially. That's more of a weed, but yeah.
Matt, do you know how small of a property is too small for having bees? Is there?
Yeah, I don't think that there is. I mean, because even in the city here, I mean, there's a gentleman like down. I live right in Livonia. I mean, it's like in a neighborhood. It's like less than a quarter of an acre lot here. Down the street's a guy that has a couple beehives in his yard. It's I don't think you can have too small of an area. No, I mean, even in the city of Detroit, they've got them on rooftops now. I believe. There's can't remember the name of the company, but they're doing them down there. So it's no.
Cool. Okay, so I'm really not finding a good reason not to have them. I'm trying to run, devil's advocate here. How can I screw this up? What's going on? It can be as intense as you want it to be. No property limit, and your fruit trees are loaded all the time. I mean, that's a win.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just you're just investing a little bit of money and that's it. And then, I mean, I shouldn't say a little bit because you do have to get boxes and paint them. You got a little work to get started, but once you get started with it, yeah, it's pretty simple.
Okay. Have you harvested any honey yet? Let's talk about the sweet stuff.
So this year I pulled a couple I haven't actually like bottled anything yet. Haven't processed it, but I did pull a couple supers a few weeks ago, and then I've got a few more supers that are just from the farm I'm talking, and then those are going to be ready to go. This drought with this wet, I was surprised when I checked them last. They didn't have them capped off yet, like they should have been. They should have been capped at that point. I think it was the lack of water. So I had Doug filled a tote with some water, put some rocks in it so the bees could land and actually get some water to finish that up. So those will be getting pulled hopefully this weekend. So then we'll be processing it. Yeah. But.
Awesome. I have one more question on bees, and I want to make sure you cover anything that we may have missed for today's discussion. What's a good resource people can go on and buy bees or get started on this? What's your favorite bee resource? Bee source.
Yeah, geez. It's Dedant and Sons. Dedant and Sons, I think they're out of Minnesota. They have a lot of equipment in that they're selling online. You're actually starting to see a lot of like the Farm and Fleet Tractor Supply. They are actually selling a lot of the equipment in that itself too. If you're talking to actual honeybees themselves, I would absolutely suggest just going on. I usually just go on like Marketplace or Craigslist, and you'll find local people selling bees. That's bees that have overwintered in Michigan successfully. That's what you want. So. Yep.
Wow. Anything we missed on bees before we get back to your farm?
Yeah, the only thing that, just kind of top of mind that I would suggest, I commented about the different types of bees, and I do think that that's pretty important in Michigan because I commented earlier about Italians. Those Italian honeybees are like the most popular, by far, right? And they're known for being friendly and produce a lot of honey and all that. But they're warm weather bees. They do not. It's not impossible for them to winter in Michigan, but you have to put a lot more work into it as far as like, maybe insulating your hives, putting blankets like a hive blanket on the top, that sort of thing, to try and help them get through winter here. What I have found, like I said, local bees that have overwintered here before, but there is some newer type bees. They're called Saskatraz bees, and they're actually coming out of Saskatchewan. They're like a hybrid honeybee. So they're bred for, honey production, very friendly. They're pretty laid back bees when you go in there. Like there's times if I'm going in just to do a quick inspection, make sure the queen's alive and all that, I don't even put a jacket or anything. I'll just go into the hive. I'll throw the jacket on if I'm actually going to harvest. They get a little more riled up, but even then, like they're pretty laid back. They're nice and easy ones to deal with. But they overwinter well. Varroa mites is like a big thing, that hurts bees. Varroa mites come from the south. They can't handle the winters either. So, these bees deal with varroa mites better if you even get them with them. If you're getting Italian bees, they came from down south, they're going to come with varroa mites more than likely, so it's another reason why I try to stick to local too. So, you're not bringing mites into your apiary and that. So, but I would say that's, if I could recommend a type of bee, like I said, the Saskatraz bees, if you can find them, there's a guy in Schwartz Creek that sells them. But he actually brings them in, he ships them in. So you have to pre-order way in the spring. But, other than that, I would say just find someone local, to get them from.
Very cool. That's all awesome advice. I appreciate that, Matt. I'm going to try it out next year. It's on my list.
Yeah. And then the other thing I would just make sure you hook up with, like, obviously me, I can answer questions or help you out with whatever, with that. But if you get into any kind of beekeeping forums or anything like that, like everybody's very helpful and always willing. Like when I mentioned that I had murdered that queen, it was literally on like a Sunday morning and I had to go home that day and I didn't want to lose this hive because I just killed the queen. And so I actually found so went on Craigslist and found a guy that sold bees and called and asked if he had any extra queens. And he breeds queens as well. And it was like an hour away from me, drove over there, purchased a queen for like $30, went back, installed it in the hive, and they accepted her, and that hive kept on going. So, but it was a Sunday afternoon is my point. The guy like came and met me and, helped me out, so, wow. It's good. It's good community with that.
No kidding. Do you know anything about breeding queens? I didn't know that.
I have not gotten into that. That's like a whole nother level. Because if you're going to start making some money with this stuff, the honey is great and all that, but it's a decent amount of work to process it, but selling bees, I think, is where you want to go with it. Selling bees and breeding queens. That's where I think you make your money. I believe. Yeah, okay. I would think. Yeah, I believe. Yeah. So,
well, that's awesome. We haven't talked to anybody about that really in depth on the podcast in 8 years. So appreciate you and Doug coming on and talking about that. I do want to cover a couple more things that you guys have been doing at deer camp at the farm. There's a water tank install, water tower install, and a buck pole. Who wants to take the water tower install?
I'll let Doug take the water tower. I'll just, before I hand it over there, I will say, I originally built a water tower. It just was not up to Mr. Engineer's standards over here. A perfectly operating water tower only fell once.
So yeah, technically we put it up twice. So when I rebuilt it, it was a third time. I should have taken a picture of it because when I rebuilt it, it had about a 12-foot 6x6 wedged into the dirt, propping the thing up. 5 feet in the air with 200 gallons of water. Probably weighs whatever that weighs. 2,000 pounds, something like that. And
Wow.
I always felt a little nervous standing right in front of it to like turn
It
the
was
valve
fine.
on.
It was fine.
I like your style, Matt.
So yeah, that was, I mean, our farm, we don't have a well. We are only like maybe a half mile, 3/4 of a mile down the road from our cabin. So we, typically if we were going to go spray our field, with herbicide or whatnot, we would have to like drive the tractor down the road to the cabin, fill it up at the well, drive all the way back. So yeah, Matt had the idea of like, hey, we've got this 20 by 30 pole barn sitting here. Why don't we throw a gutter on one side of it and then plumb that into one of those water totes? So that's what we have. And yeah, so basically, yeah, this year we just basically kind of dismantled the one that was there, and then actually put posts in the ground, buried 4 feet and cross braced it, and also got it up a couple feet higher. So we got a little more head pressure on it now, but that is like invaluable for being able to go out and spray, be able to like, hose the fertilizer off of your spreader when you're done spreading fertilizer, because we've got a few of those that are completely rotted out because we didn't have any way of washing them off when we were done. So yeah, it was, I mean, it's a pretty easy weekend project and way cheaper than drilling a well these days. I can't believe what they charge for a well. So
Yeah.
we're obviously not drinking the water, but it's really just for filling the sprayer tank and hosing stuff down. So
with 250 gallons, do you have to be stingy about your water use?
well, maybe I would say maybe this year with how dry it's been, but honestly, it doesn't take very much rain to fill that thing up. I think like 1 inch of rain will fill it.
Wow.
And it's just, it's one half of I think it's a 30 by 40 pole barn. So 15 by 40 foot roof, just the rain, 1 inch of rain off of that will fill that thing. So yeah, we've never ran out.
Yeah, I think the only time we even came close to running out was when we planted. I think we planted like 20 apple trees at once, and we were like watering them every weekend.
Yeah.
We were going up and
like massive amounts
delivering
of water
out to them to water them to make sure that they rooted good and that. But we were ripping through it.
Well, as soon as I get something with a roof on it, I'm gonna do the same thing. I had to go, even for the habitat day, to fill up my cultipacker. I had to go and bang on the neighbor's door and see if I could borrow a hose. So it's definitely invaluable. I always, at the 15 acres that I always fill up at home, come down, you run out of water. I had some 5-gallon totes with me filled with water. Like that was it. So the struggle is real. You don't have a well. Is there any tips or tricks you'd recommend for that water, keeping cleanliness, overflow, support, anything like that?
Yeah. So yeah, the way the gutter feeds in, it'll just naturally overflow. The gutter's open on one end of the angled portion that goes from the gut. I guess it's the downspout, where the downspout hinges off the gutter. The back of that's just wide open. So yeah, overflow is not really a problem. We have had to put a bunch of rocks around the base of it to keep it from, eroding the soil, our beautiful clay soil we have up there. Yeah, other than that, yeah, I mean, we definitely have an issue with algae growth in the tank. And I actually posted that question on our polo group. Like, hey, what do you guys do? So got a lot of good ideas. I haven't actually tried any of them yet, but I guess you can get those horse tank tablets, like Tractor Supply, you can just toss those in there and they're non-toxic and will supposedly keep that from happening. But we actually have another tote. The one that's on there is clear or like translucent, and I think that algae needs sunlight to grow. So, you could cover it with a tarp. Or we have another tote sitting there that's like a dark, solid gray tote that wouldn't let sunlight in. So I think the plan, probably after this fall, when we're done using the tower for the year, we'll drain it and then just swap the totes out and see how that goes. But because I have had issues clogging our sprayer with that stuff because that algae will kind of wash out. But actually, there was like an old bed sheet laying around from something we were going to cut up into rags or something, and it literally just made like a filter, like just kind of pushed the bed sheet down into the filler of the sprayer tank, and then put the hose into that, and so let the water go through the sheet, basically like a coffee filter, essentially. And that actually worked great. Like I had zero issues with clogging once we started doing that. So pretty easy to deal with, but yeah, it's nice to be able to wash your hands when you're at the end of the day working on a bunch of old rusty farm equipment or whatnot, or chainsaw, bar oil. Yeah, it's nice to have water around.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a great tip for the listeners there. I know they also make these it's almost like a hair net that you put over the top of your tank on your ATV. So when you pour,
Okay.
super organic fertilizer in there, or maybe algae filled water, it'll grab all that. It's a coffee filter, with a little elastic band on it. But those are pretty cheap on Amazon too, for something along those lines. A bed sheet works great. But just another idea there. That's pretty neat. All right. So what's the other top improvement you've done on the farm since last time we had you on?
Since the last time, boy, I would say switchgrass. I've done quite a bit of switchgrass planting. I think I just added it up and wrote it down because I wasn't really sure. Somewhere I wrote it down. I think it's like somewhere around 3.5 acres of switchgrass now.
Yeah, I got 3.5 to 4, something like that.
And I feel like, man, it's made a big difference on the farm. Just our farm it's an old dairy farm. We've been told, don't really know, but it was basically open ground. It's 80 acres. So outside of the low spots where they couldn't farm or grow hay, like the low spots, the only place there's trees. So out of the 80 acres, I'd say we've got maybe 10 acres of like timber. The rest is just brush and, overgrown fields, which when my dad bought it, going on 20 years ago, he sold a 75 acre, like fully timbered piece to buy that one. And we were like, what are you doing? Like, where are we going to hang a tree stand? This is crazy. But in hindsight, man, it's actually been really good. It's just, kind of a blank slate. You can punch a food plot in like literally anywhere you want. Like you can really strategically plan out where you put them. But then, the flip side of that is cover. So the switchgrass has been huge, I think, in that being able to put cover like exactly where we want it, get the deer to bed where we want them to bed, steer the deer the way we want them to go. It actually, I feel like it's pretty easy to grow. I know it gets a bad rap of being like a finicky thing, but if you take care of the weeds, that's the only trick. And I think is just, you got to take care of the weed. They cannot compete with weeds, at least not the first year or two. So if you do that right, we had a drought summer and my switch is looking amazing. I don't know if it's 3 feet, but it's definitely 2, probably pushing 3, even with the lack of rain. So yeah, I think that's definitely the single biggest thing. I don't know, Matt, what do you think? Is there something I'm forgetting? Like the last 2 years?
I think the switchgrass is the biggest addition, now, especially now that it's like really coming in well, right? We're a few years into when we really started, putting it in, especially strategically in that. And boy, do you see it now, so, but.
That just kind of brings up a question I have. First of all, Doug, are you planting RC Big Rock or would you plant this year?
Yeah, I've been doing just RC Big Rock lately.
Okay.
And a little bit of RC Tecumseh, because I'm trying to remember which one. I think the Tecumseh does better on like higher, sandier ground. Yeah, I would say that has made a big difference as well. I don't know, right about the same time I switched to RC Big Rock, I actually started taking care of the weeds properly. So I don't know if it's doing so much better, for which reason, but because I had done the cave-in rock before that, and It came in, but it took a lot of extra effort. Like I had to frost seed a couple of times, like 2 years in a row. It eventually came in really nice, but I spent 2 to 3 times as much money on it as I should have if I would have just taken care of the weeds out of the gate, So, but yeah, I think the RC Big Rock, I mean, to get 3 feet of growth, I mean, that's what you planted on yours, I think, right?
Yeah.
I think that's all Big Rock. I think that's why that was bred to basically jump out of the ground more to outcompete weeds and be more successful with, not as good a weed control, but has the added benefit of actually getting some height on it the first year. So normally it would take 2 years to get 3 feet high, I think, and you're not going to get the full height until the third year, typically. So.
Right. Yeah, if it wasn't for the cleanup crews and the power lines for the ice storm still in their last week running it over, it all looked really good.
Yeah.
But it's they say what first year is creep, year two is no, first year sleep, year two is creep, year three is leap. Andy, you were seeing something like that, right?
Yeah, I'm on year 3 and I got the leap this year.
Sleep.
Yeah.
Creep. I think that's it.
Yeah,
Which one did you plant, Andy? Was it Big Rock or?
Yeah, I think it was Big Rock.
Okay.
Whatever the local grain mill had is what I put in.
Yeah.
I think it was
might have
Big
been
Rock.
something different. Who knows?
It could have been, yeah. But yeah,
Yeah.
I thought it was a total loss, to be completely honest with you. And then all of a sudden this year it was, here we go.
That's the frustrating. I mean, you got to be patient with the switchgrass. And I would say there's really no way to know the first year. Well, I mean, yeah, I say that, but then, yeah, Jared's and mine's this year looked obviously amazing. So obviously they're a success, but before this year, I would say, yeah, that first year, it's like, I think it looks okay. I won't really know until the second year,
Full disclaimer, I did nothing but frost seed it. I didn't do any herbicide. I didn't do anything.
Okay.
I literally just threw it out, frost seeded it, and prayed to the switchgrass grass gods, and it worked out.
Nice. I mean, I feel like the first one I did was cave in. It was like that first year, I thought it was a failure. I'm trying to remember. I had rototilled that, and then I'm trying to remember what we did for herbicide. I'm pretty sure I did the Simazine, but it was on rototill ground, and I feel like that's the other piece of it is I've had way better first year success on untilled ground, doing it no-till. So, but I've also had failure doing that if I skip the Simazine. So I don't know. It's like I said, you got to take care of the weeds. There's no, I think Hutchie, your case in point, if you're patient, it will eventually take hold and start out competing the other grass. But
yeah, I mean, like I said, it's a fluke. It was basically like driving down the road throwing $100 bills out the window. So, and it seemed
that's pretty much it.
I found a couple of my $100 bills, I guess. That's so, good. I mean, it's not perfect by any means, but I've got nice clumpy spots, in certain spots. So I'm kind of liking that. So we'll see what happens next year.
Yeah. And I'm not terribly upset if it doesn't come in perfectly clean and solid. Like I would rather have it clumpy, and I think, the deer utilize it a little bit more if there's some
they can get through it
for them to move around. Yeah.
Yep. And they'll bed it a little more from what I was told. You want it kind of clumpy like that so that they'll stay and have some woody browse in there and let them lay right in there and get up and eat a little bit. And shoot them come October.
Yeah. It's made such a big difference on our place. Like we've got deer in the field that they would never be in the, 2 hours before dark or 2 hours after daylight. And they're out there just feeding as comfortable as can be in the middle of a 2.5 acre field. And it's because there's switch on either side of it, 40 yards away from them, So.
And one more question on how you plan the layout of that. I remember from our Marco Polo group for the Patreons, you went through it, but run us through kind of what the field looked like, how you laid it out in your head and on the field to make those deer feel that comfy. I mean, we're talking Northern Michigan. and everybody's got a gun. So if you're a deer feeling comfy in northern Michigan, that's something.
Yeah. So yeah, that one was, like I said, it was a 2.5 acre plot. It was kind of our largest food plot at the time, kind of our destination plot. And it, it's 2.5 acres, but it's boxed in by low wet spots. So it's not like there's trees all around it. It's a wide open 2.5 acres in the middle of a much larger wide open landscape, if you will. So very little cover. And so what we ended up doing was actually, and implementing a lot of things that honestly I learned listening to your podcast and reading a bunch of books, but trying to create a lot of edge cover, trying to create, obviously a buck could step out on the edge of that field and see the entire 2.5 acre field. In fact, he could see it from the hilltop 300 yards away. Actually, he didn't have to get to the edge of the field from the way it used to be. So we made it like it's kind of a sigma shape. It's like a S with an extra curve on it. So it's not just a big rectangle anymore. We made it S shape, so the deer would have to like kind of walk around corners and actually like you can't see the whole field from any one spot. There's always something around a corner that they want to have to like, the bucks have to come down and
I love
they want to see if there's a doe on that other end, right? So, and so we basically just did that with switchgrass and, so the Downburst cedar, we basically, I kind of, and it's funny, like I think I was still in Colorado when we had this great idea, and actually like emailed Matt the map of my crazy shape in the field. I'm like, yeah, can you rototill this for me? And then next weekend I'll show up with my Downburst and we'll put switchgrass in there. And he did it. And it's funny, like you look at the aerial photography now and my drawing that I gave him, and he did a damn nice job. It almost like perfect. But yeah, we basically just made kind of a crazy mosaic pattern. Like the northwest corner of that field and then the southeast corner, but it has, a lot of contour and curve and shape to it, but leaving open spots in the middle. So it's not just solid switch. I think that one field's got like 1.5 acres of switch in it. So now the food plot, from 2.5 to 1, but then we also extended the food a little bit further north. So we're still at about 2 acres of food there, but way more cover. So the whole field, like the widest point, I think I cannot remember now if it was 20 or 40. Now, how wide is number 6, Matt? Is it 40 yards across? Or is each half 40 yards? It's not 80. Must be 40 yards.
From that curve, it's 40 yards. Yeah.
Yeah.
For the entire thing. Yeah.
So yeah, it's 40 yards wide and probably pushing half a mile long or something. Wow. So yeah, the deer, like I said, they will walk right down the middle of that thing in broad daylight now. No problem. So
cover.
Yeah. And it's funny, there's a natural little break in the switch, like right in front of one of our blinds. I didn't do that on purpose, didn't plan it, but it's just the way it worked out. And the deer, they come in and out of that little gap in the switch, like we planned it, but we didn't. Yeah, I should have planned it. I would recommend doing that.
Oh, I thought you were being facetious. I thought it was planned.
Yeah, pure luck. But yeah, it's definitely the single biggest thing we've done. I mean, outside of that, we did years before was just access. I mean, that's been huge.
Yeah, that was huge.
We used
access trails that was cut in and right.
We used to just walk straight up the center of the property.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, I mean, we used to, like I said, we've had the farm. My dad bought it 20 years ago. It's full of pothole, little ponds, like just every low spot's full of water typically. And so the only place we could get a road from the front all the way to the back is right up the center, just the way the land was. And so, yeah, you put the road there so you can access the property to put in, to work on it. And then when it comes time to hunt, of course, we're just going to walk the road, right? Because that's the easy way to walk. So, yeah, I mean, for years, we would just walk right up the middle, blow everything out, climb into a tree stand and be like, they'll come back, And so, again, just learning all about the habitat management stuff over the years. And it's like, this is silly. Why are we doing this? So, I mean, I think we spent a whole summer just building a trail up, one trail up the west side, one trail up the east side. And so when there's a west wind, we use the east trail and only hunt stands on the east side of the property. And when there's an east wind, we use the west trail and only hunt stands on that side. And so we've kind of flipped the whole property, the whole center is kind of the sanctuary, if you will. And then we're basically hunting the perimeter. And so all of our food plots are laid out like in a big circle, closer to the perimeter. The center section is intended to just be cover. And that's where I've also planted a lot of switchgrass. So seems to be working pretty well. Like we're able to actually hunt it quite a bit without the deer knowing we're there. So, and yeah, I think, that probably also plays into a lot of the more daytime movement than what we've seen in the past too. So.
And that buck you shot last year, that was,
so,
I mean, that was after some of these improvements have been made.
He read the script. I mean, it almost seems like surreal that we literally like planned that out and it literally like happened exactly the way we planned. So that big food plot I was just talking about, he was going in there. He was in there every morning, having another buck and kind of a little bachelor group. And that's on the west side of the property. So I need an east wind to hunt that. But just so it's like the big food plot and then a block of like blue spruce that was planted years and years ago. It's all grown up. And then carved into that block of blue spruce is our apple orchard. So we got about a dozen trees that are now 20 years old that produce hundreds of pounds of apples. And then just south of that is a pretty thick, like one of our best bedding areas. And then, yeah, I mean, from the cameras, we knew he was living on our place. Pretty sure I knew, roughly within maybe 3-4 acre area where he was bedding. And I knew he was in that food plot every night, and in the morning cutting through the orchard to get back to bed. And last year was actually a year we didn't really have any apples. So I didn't get many pictures of him in the orchard. I wasn't really sure how he was getting through there. But yeah, finally, I think it was like October 12th, I want to say. Season opens October 1st, and I was just waiting for an east wind because I got pictures of him out in that, number 6 field. Like I said, every morning he's out there. So we finally got the east wind. I climbed into our stand in that orchard, and I mean, as it's breaking day, I can hear 2 bucks fighting in the food plot. And I'm like, it's probably him. And I'm like watching. There's one main run that cuts from the food plot through the orchard, and so I'm like just concentrating on that, just staring at it. And I like hear a noise, and I look to my left, and here he is. He'd come right down our access road, like our tractor road, like walking right at me. He was like 5 yards from me when I first saw him, and he's coming right at me, and I'm like, holy crap. And that stand I'm in, we actually built a barricade so that they couldn't go behind us. So it's basically parallel fences, maybe 5-6 feet apart. Makes like a tunnel from our west access trail straight into the stand. It's maybe 20 yards, and guarantees the deer are going to go in front of you, not behind you. And that's what he did. He came up our road, not using the deer run, skirted, like hugged the edge of the tree right in front of me. And as he was going by, I was able to like make a move, get drawn back. And like right when I came to full draw, he's like, walking through the one little opening I got. And he's at 10 yards. So, I mean, he heard me draw. And as soon as he heard it, he just stopped. And I gave me just enough time to get the pin in the right spot and punch the trigger, but
yeah, buddy.
Nice.
But yeah, I mean, it was like all of those things put together, the layout, the access. 100% he would have gone behind me if it wasn't for that barricade that we built, because he was staying like our camera in the orchard. He was just off the edge of it. He probably was going through there every day, and I had no idea. Like I said, I didn't know how he was moving through there, but it's the only stand we have in that area. So I'm like going to sit there and hope for the best, But I bet you he was doing that every day, and he was just off where the camera was looking. But so yeah, it was cool that, like I said, everything, like he read the script and happened to be by far the nicest buck I've ever shot. So it's kind of icing on the cake, but
yeah,
it's nice when a plan comes together.
Yeah.
You guys put a lot of hard work in. It's all the stuff we talk about every week and year after year is not for nothing. Like little tidbits will pop in when you're setting up that location, and good for you guys. That's awesome, man. Heck of a buck.
Thanks. Yeah. I actually just picked him up from the taxidermist this past weekend. So
nice.
I'll say it was actually bigger than I remember, which is a nice thing. I was like,
that's always a good
man.
He's awesome. I'd shoot that deer down here. I'd shoot that deer. We're going to West Virginia soon. Shoot him there. Like that's a dead deer, man. That's a great buck.
Thanks. Yeah. No, we're pretty geeked to have that. I mean, when I grew up, my first deer was like a 3-pointer, and then most of the bucks everybody shot was like little forkies, and if somebody got a 6-pointer, that was like, big news.
Yeah.
So Michigan's it's come a long way, at least in our area, just in the last like 10 years or so, I think. So it's nice to have some more mature animals to chase around out there for sure. So
I'll keep up the good work, guys. You guys are doing great. You got the bees, you got the downbursts, you got all the access, the switchgrass. I mean, I got to see this place here soon.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Well, I'd love to have you out there.
Well, if anybody wants to, Doug, get a hold of you, Matt, get a hold of you, how do we do that? Feel free to throw in contact info and how people can find you.
Yeah. So the website for Downburst Cedars is just literally downburstcedars.com. If you would just type in Downburst Cedars into Google, it'll be right at the top of the list. So I've also got a Facebook page and a YouTube channel for that. So same thing, you go to YouTube and search Downburst Cedars, you'll find it. I've been trying to grow that collection of videos. I think I've got 20 some odd videos on there now, but it's a lot of good info there on just how the machine works, what the features are, and then quite a few videos on, kind of seeing it planting in action. I know, it's a big purchase to make, kind of sight unseen, just buying something off the internet. So tried to get as many videos on there as I can, just showing you exactly what you're getting and how it works. So, but yeah, you can reach there. If you go to the website, there's a contact us button that literally sends an email directly to me. So I try to respond to all emails within the day. So yeah, love to hear from anybody that's got questions or is anything I can do to help out.
And Matt, if they want bees,
man.
If
anybody is looking for any advice or questions or anything, I'm certainly willing to offer. So my email would be the best, right? So it's Holmes, MAH at Yahoo. If you're thinking about it or just want some direction or whatever, encouragement, help, just reach out for sure.
Awesome, guys. Thank you so much. I'm going to hit you with a rapid fire before we wrap. Are you guys ready?
Sure.
Ready.
All right. Let's go Doug, Matt. Your favorite beverage?
Gin and tonic. Your turn, Matt.
Oh, the same. No, I'm sorry. I thought it was a different question.
Matt's like mine too. Gin and tonic.
Yeah, geez. No, my go-to would probably be, I like Miller Lite's that's a Miller Lite.
Okay. Favorite venison recipe?
I gotta go with venison chili. I could eat that 3 times a day. I don't know. I know that's boring, but
no,
a good bowl of venison chili it beats out any other beef chili or any other kind of chili.
I'm with you. That's my initial reaction is beef chili, but I will say, just a couple weeks ago, Doug made it was like our grandmother's spaghetti recipe, but with venison, and that was fantastic. I think that is the only way I'm going to have it now.
Yeah,
But
definitely
we used to always do venison spaghetti. That's a great touch. Food, water, cover. Can only pick one. What's most important?
Cover.
I'm gonna say food.
Ooh.
Which I'm surprised I'm saying food, but after this past weekend, I would have said cover, but now my food plots are looking bad. Acorns everywhere else. I think food is what killed us. So
okay,
that's all right. That's why we
Fair
can redo this rapid fire whenever you guys are on, because things change. Your favorite habitat tool or implement? Doug, I think I know your answer, but
I mean, there's one in particular I'm thinking of, but besides the Downburst seeder, man, I feel like a cultipacker. It's kind of the 1-2 system. Spreads the seed and then pack it in. So
love it.
Downburst is great and all, but I love brush hogging. Get on the tractor, just spending some hours brush hog, cutting trails and that. I love it.
Mowing clover.
It's good.
That is fun.
Yeah.
All right. Last but not least, your favorite tree.
I've listened to a couple podcasts, so I'm going to pick one tree in particular, an actual single tree. We call it the killing tree. It's a giant old white pine that the top blew out of probably 50 years ago. And now there's like this perfect crow's nest about 20 feet off the ground. There's even a horizontal limb, perfect height to sit on like a seat. And we climb up in there, no ladder, nothing. Like you just climb up in there and sit on the limb. And we've killed, besides the one I got last year, we've killed all of our nicest bucks out of that tree. So
nice.
Can't beat the killing tree, man. Like, oh, dude.
Love it.
Kids know the killing tree. Everybody knows. Yeah, that's like, it's like a monument, like a trophy on our farm. When it's up in there, it's tucked away from the, it's off the beaten path. Not by the big fields. It's out of the way. It's like a staging area before they come out.
Oh man,
yeah. I've never had a deer even come close to pegging me in that tree.
Not once.
It's great.
And it's even on top of like kind of a little bit of a hill. And so like, even if you have the wind coming the wrong way, and I'm have it just goes right over their heads, because it's almost like a peninsula and you're on top of them, but it's, never been busted there ever.
Never been smelled. I love it.
Yeah, I'd say that's got to be the best tree, is the tree you've never been busted in ever. Like, I don't care what kind of tree it is. If you've never been busted there, that's a win.
We've hunted that thing pretty hard in some years. Yeah.
Well, it takes time to find those trees and to make them work, and the access you mentioned, it all makes sense. But guys, thank you so much. Awesome catch up with you guys. And if anybody wants to hear more, you guys know how to get a hold of them. You'll be hearing more from me over here on Downburst and the crew. But good luck this fall. Keep in touch. Let us know how you do. And shoot straight, boys.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, fellas.
Thank you for tuning in to the Habitat Podcast. We really do appreciate you guys coming back every week to get this awesome Habitat content. And we would appreciate it if you went to iTunes, Spotify, wherever you listen to this podcast, and leave us a 5-star review. That helps us continue to grow and trend in the right direction, attract new listeners, and help us provide better content in the future. Guys, we have a website full of resources. We have a blog on the website. We have YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all linked up at habitatpodcast.com. Our land plan services, merchandise, decals, hats, t-shirts, and I give away a free 5-inch decal to anyone who leaves us a review on Apple iTunes. Really appreciate it. I want to thank our partners, Downburst Seeders, Vitalize Seed Company, Morse Nursery, Packer Max Cultipackers, Stealth Outdoors, First Light Latitude Outdoors, United Country Midwest Lifestyle Properties. Thanks again, guys. We'll be back next week with another great episode of the Habitat Podcast. Thanks for tuning in.